Hey everybody, did you see it? Were you watching? Welcome back to another episode of FFB from the 50, brought to you by JDP Media. I am your host, Dan Amsler, and what a week 9. Week 9 is in the books, week 10 is coming up. Let's take a look back at the week that was, and look ahead at the week that will be. First thing I want to talk about, just a couple of injuries. Thank goodness the injury report coming out of week 9 is fairly short. 2 injuries that I do want to talk about. Aaron Jones and his ailing ankle. He hurt his ankle in the game this week against Detroit. It does look like he is going to be able to play through it. X-rays came back negative, and he is expected to have another role going forward into week 10. We'll see how much he's limited in practice this week. Might not be a bad idea if you can grab A.J. Dillon via trade or something to get him in your lineup as well. It looks like Aaron Jones may be active, but might be limited with that ankle injury. All right, another one is Josh Allen, who hurt his elbow late in the Week 9 loss to the New York Jets. It looks like there might be some ligament and nerve damage in that elbow. All indications seem to think that he is going to be able to play through this. It's going to be more of a comfort management situation, pain management. So we'll see how he does. All right, moving on to some news. Jeff Saturday has been named the interim coach for the Indianapolis Colts. Not 100% sure how I feel about this. I've asked a lot of my friends who are also Colts fans. Seems to be split 50-50 between optimism and the other 50% being wondering just what in the world Irsay is thinking. A lot of people think this might just be a PR move. However, I think if you can get somebody with Jeff Saturday's pedigree in the locker room, that can definitely help. Unfortunately, his coaching time is limited to just high school football. But Jeff Saturday was the center for that offensive line and the anchor. So, I don't know, folks. I'm optimistic about it. We'll see how he can handle coaching. He was one heck of a player. In other news, we had 2 huge explosions this week. Both Joe Mixon and Justin Fields, who we'll talk about here shortly, both exploded for over 40 points in fantasy football leagues this week. And I can't go a whole episode here without talking about the Green Bay Packers collapse. They fell to the Detroit Lions this week. Aaron Rodgers was visibly frustrated on the field, but a lot of that was his own doing. I don't know if you guys were watching it. Did you see it? He threw a couple interceptions, one of them on the goal line at the 1-yard line, the other also in the red zone. So, hate to say this, but Aaron Rodgers, I saw it. All right, so going to some of these performances that we had. Did you see it? Did you see Justin Fields' performance for the Bears? All right, Justin Fields was the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football for week 9. He threw for 123 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 of which went to Cole Kmet, and set a regular season rushing record for quarterbacks with 178 rushing yards and another touchdown. One of the leagues that I play in actually awards a bonus anytime a player goes over 175 rushing yards. So for me, he actually went over 50 points in that league. Another huge performance, the top running back this week was Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon ran for 153 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. He also caught 4 additional passes for 58 yards and another touchdown through the air. So those are the 2 huge performances. The top wide receiver for week 9 was Devontae Adams with 2 touchdown catches. And the top tight end was Dallas Goedert. Would like to say the number 2 tight end this week in fantasy football was none other than Cole Kmet, who plays for the Bears. All right, looking ahead to week number 10, we do have 4 teams on bye. We have the Ravens, the Bengals, the Patriots, and the Jets. For the Ravens, probably a good time. They're a little banged up in their backfield. This will give them a chance to get healthy. The Bengals, another week with Jamar Chase coming back to health. Give them a week where he can recuperate without having to be on the field. Patriots are still trying to figure out their quarterback situation. I know they've rolled with Mac Jones. We'll see how that goes. Give him another week to get healthy. And the Jets, the bye week probably couldn't come at a worse time for them. They're actually on fire right now. Look fantastic against Buffalo. That team is for real. We need to stop and give both Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur credit for what they're doing for that team. Saleh, I believe, is largely responsible for that defense coming around, but Mike LaFleur is turning me into a believer. And he's doing this without a real, I would say, a real valid quarterback in Zach Wilson. It's almost like they're doing this in spite of Zach Wilson, which this is a true testament to how good Mike LaFleur is doing. So kudos to them. Matchups that I'm looking forward to this week. I'm kind of interested to see the Panthers versus the Falcons. I know that sounds crazy, but Deontay Foreman put on one heck of a show against Atlanta just a couple weeks ago. So I want to see how that goes. This should be a good matchup this week between the Minnesota Vikings and the Buffalo Bills. The Vikings are 7-1. The Bills are 6-2. It's going to be interesting to see how Josh Allen can play with that elbow injury. I will be watching the injury reports going into this week just to see. If for any reason Josh Allen misses time, that would definitely be a downgrade for his wide receiving weapons. That goes without saying. I know that sounds like common sense, but those wide receivers are heavily relied on. What could come about and what would be interesting to see is what kind of role the running backs would have. Don't forget they just traded for Nyheim Hines. So if Josh Allen is dealing with any kind of injury that's going to knock him out for any time at all, upgrade those running backs, specifically Hines. They went out and grabbed him for a reason. Devin Singletary has also proved effective when they've given him the ball and given him a chance. I'm also excited for the Bears-Lions game. I want to see if Justin Fields can continue what he's doing. Last 4 weeks in a row, now that they're utilizing him correctly, he is really putting up the points, and he's going against a very weak Detroit team. I know they played rather well last week against Green Bay, but Green Bay is falling apart and imploding, so I don't really count that too much. So those are the matchups that I'm really looking forward to. I am kind of interested to see what Derrick Henry can do for the Tennessee Titans versus that Denver defense. Of course, that Denver defense is not going to look the same after the trade deadline, but that'll be fascinating to see. And the final matchup that I'm really looking forward to is the Cowboys versus the Packers, simply because I'm looking forward to the Cowboys stomping all over the Packers. We should see the Packers this week fall to 3-7, and I can't wipe the smile off my face. So again, that's a week looking ahead. There are some juicy matchups. Make sure you go out and you pay attention to the injury reports. I know the reports coming out of week 9 were rather small, thank goodness. But there were some injuries from players that were out on bye that we're going to be watching closely. I know Zeke Elliott is one of the running backs that is expected to return this week. I know Elijah Mitchell is nearing his return for the 49ers. They have Christian McCaffrey, so even when he does come back, he's still going to be an RB2 on that team. Speaking of Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, don't forget Jeff Wilson was traded to the Miami Dolphins during that trade deadline. He actually performed rather well. So if Jeff Wilson is out on your waiver wires, go out and grab him. I doubt he is, but there are a lot of folks like me who had him at one point and dropped him after the Christian McCaffrey trade. That was before he was traded to Miami. He looked really good. So if he's available, go out and grab him. He might be the number one pickup if he is available. All right, folks, that's all I have for you for this week. Do come back on Friday. I'm going to drop another video that's just going to be updating the injuries. Who's in, who's out, who's looking likely, who's questionable, who's doubtful. That video will come out either Friday night or Saturday, depending upon how fast the information comes in. I do think that I'm going to enjoy doing the 2 videos per week. I like giving you guys more updates like that. I'm also going to do a fantasy fireside chat where it's just me. I'm going to go ahead and post a video talking about how I'm doing across the leagues that I'm in. If I'm going to be out here presenting this information and talking about my opinions and whatnot, I need to validify myself, and I need to show you how I'm doing. So be looking for that video. I will actually go through each of the leagues that I'm in, show you my rankings, where I stand, what my roster looks like, and what my plans are moving ahead to try to make the playoffs in each one of those leagues. So if that's something that interests you, you want to see how I'm doing, come back. That'll be a fantasy fireside chat. It's just going to be me talking about my teams. I'm not sure I'm actually going to be on camera. What I might do is just put up my roster and put up my league. That way you can see exactly where I'm at, and I'll just do a voiceover on that. So it might be a more pleasant video to do it that way as well. All right, folks, that's it for this week. Before I let you go down to the comment section. Let me know who you thought the best performers were that I did not mention. Let me know if you think Justin Fields is for real. He garnered a lot of attention across the country this week with his performance, not just from Bears fans. So if you could, go down to the comment section. Let me know, is Justin Fields the best quarterback that came out of that quarterback class? Or is there reason to believe that another quarterback that was taken still could take that spot? I would argue right now that Justin Fields is that person over Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. I would take Justin Fields out of all of those. Go down to the comment section. Let me know if you think I'm right or wrong. Also, go out and tell me who you're looking forward to seeing play coming up in Week 10, the matchups that you think are exploitable and the ones that you want to see happen. Any injuries that I missed, go down to the comment section, let me know so I can make sure I talk about those on Friday or Saturday when the injury video drops. All right, folks, make sure you give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, see ya.